Hello everyone, my name is Hafiz, your cybersecurity consultant. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic of GRC domain, and the topic is cybersecurity risk management, part 1. We shall be covering this topic in 2 parts, and part 1, let's begin today. Although you have seen that we have covered early topics like cybersecurity strategy, how we can build it, and then we talked on cybersecurity management, how the cybersecurity steering committee works, and how we build a team in cybersecurity function led by CISO. And then we also talked about cybersecurity policies and procedures, how we draft them and how we implement them. Also we discussed on the roles and responsibilities of different personnels in the cybersecurity department, including other departments who take responsibility in cybersecurity program. And today is the another very important topic, which is cybersecurity risk management. Let's begin with it. Risk management in cybersecurity is the process of identifying, prioritizing, managing and monitoring risks to information systems. This process ensures that potential threats are systematically addressed to protect the confidentiality, integrity and availability of data. Alright, so the objective is to ensure managing cybersecurity risks in a methodological approach to protect policies and procedures and related laws and regulations. Perfect. So first of all, you see we have to identify the assets. We have to create a list of assets so that we know how many assets we have in our organization and what are the risks associated with them. For example, if we have firewalls or the routers, if their licenses are expiring soon, so you need to be aware, you need to take care that these licenses, for example IPS or IDS licenses of the firewall, they should be renewed on time. Okay, maybe you need to raise PR or PO with third parties, your internet service providers or your vendors. This is the purpose, that you can identify first of all your assets, and then you have to identify the risks involved with those assets. Okay, consider both internal and external sources of risks such as cyber attacks, human errors and natural disasters. Okay, for example, we have a list of assets. Edge routers, they are also there. You need to see the configuration of the edge routers, because the incoming traffic definitely will be, if you have your internal DMZ where you are publishing any of the applications, then of course you need to be aware the risks involved in the configuration of the edge routers or the edge firewalls. Okay, so you need to apply proper security profiles on your edge firewall, or if there are load balancers involved in it, or your internal DMZ devices. So you need to review the whole security posture, okay, to identify the risks. And then is the risk assessment. Evaluate the likelihood and impact of each identified risk. So number one, you have created a list of assets, then you have identified the risks, and then after that you do risk assessment involved with each identified risk. Okay, and then of course you prepare a plan how to respond to those risks, develop strategies to mitigate, transfer, accept or avoid risks, and implement risk treatment plans. So at this stage, in phase 4, definitely you create risk treatment plans, how to mitigate them. Of course you have to prioritize them: severity, critical, high, medium, low. Okay, so based on the risk severity, you have to treat them. And then is risk monitoring. You have to continuously monitor the risks. and in order to see the effectiveness of risk management measures, and also update the risk register. Risk register is very important for all these items what you are doing, identifying risks. So of course you have to convert them into a risk register. And then is executive support and approval. Whatever you are doing, you must get the support and approval from the higher management, okay, in order to get the budgets, of course. And then is ensure accountability. Whatever you are doing, you are identifying the risks and you are assigning the personnels or the cybersecurity team members, okay, so you assign them as risk owners, okay. The purpose is to have to make sure the accountability at the end of the day, okay. So let's begin with the first control in NCA ECC framework. So the first thing is risk management methodology. The relevant cybersecurity tools are risk management policy template and the risk management procedure template, 2 items. We shall discuss them at the end of the PPT slides. Okay, what are the control implementation guidelines? Number 1 is define and document requirements. Establish and document cybersecurity risk management requirements based on regulations, best practices, and standard controls. Then is methodology and procedures. Include identification of assets and their value, identification of risk, risk assessment, risk response, and risk monitoring. This is what we have discussed in the previous slide. And then is the executive management support, right? What is the expected deliverable whenever the auditor, external auditor from National Cybersecurity Authority, they are visiting you annually or by 6 months. So they will be asking you if you are really working on risk management program. They will ask you, okay, please provide us the approved cybersecurity risk management methodology, electronic or hard copy. And second number is approved cybersecurity risk management procedure. If you have these 2 documents, at least they are drafted and you get the approval, so this control is okay for the auditor. Next control is risk management implementation. Cybersecurity risk management methodology and procedures must be implemented by the cybersecurity function. All right. What are the control implementation guidelines? Implement methodology and procedures. Okay. Establish a cybersecurity risk register. Very important. Develop risk treatment plans. Absolutely good. What are the expected deliverables? Auditor will ask you to provide as an evidence. A comprehensive register documenting all identified cybersecurity risks. Then is the cybersecurity risk treatment plan. Against every identified risk, you will have to have a treatment plan, a documented one and approved one. And then is risk assessments and monitoring report, a report summarizing the cybersecurity risk assessment process and ongoing risk monitoring activities. So everything what you are doing, it should be monitored. You have to discuss all these risk management methodologies and procedures and different phases. Of course, the monitoring, it should be done in the steering committee meetings. Okay, these reports should be presented there. Next is cybersecurity risk assessment procedures. Okay, so it has 4 phases. In 4 phases, in 4 different types, you have to see everything from cybersecurity perspective. Number 1 is in the early stages of technology projects. Whatever the technology project is ongoing, you have to implement cybersecurity in the early stages. For example, control implementation guideline says define and document cybersecurity requirements in the requirements document and get approval. Fine. And then is integrate cybersecurity requirements in the initial phase of the technology project life cycle. And then is conduct risk assessments early to prevent threats. to confidentiality, integrity, and availability of assets. Then is remediate risks according to the approved risk management methodology. So these are the 4 items which you have to consider during the early stages of the technology projects. And what is the expected deliverable? Report on risk identification, that in the early stages when you have started the project, in the early stages, what were the risks identified? What were the assessments done? They were critical, with severity high or medium or low, whatever, how their assessments were done. And remediation, what you have taken the steps to remediate those risks which were involved throughout the project life cycle for the early stages of technology projects. This was the first category. The second category is before major change to technology infrastructure. Major change is something where there is a change management life cycle involved. For example, we can give you an example of the change, major change. For example, you have SaaS-based applications over the web and you are planning to migrate them back to on-premises, or if you already have your on-premises infrastructure and you cannot control them, you cannot manage them, your management has decided to migrate them to cloud. This is a major change. There are plenty of things involved. So you have to consider cybersecurity requirements for this particular major change, and you have to document everything and make them part of the change management request. All right. And then you conduct risk assessments before significant changes to prevent threats to assets, and similarly remediate those risks which you will identify in the before major changes to technology infrastructure. However, what is the expected deliverable? Report on risk identification. Whatever you are taking measures during this phase, so you have to make a report on risk identification, assessment, and remediation for changes in production environment. So production environment is very critical always. Whenever you are doing any changes, be aware to see from different angles, okay, from cybersecurity perspective especially. The third phase or the third category is during planning for third-party services. If you are going to acquire certain services from your service providers, from ISPs or from consulting services companies, so you have to consider, you have to think about how their internal security posture is if you are dealing with third parties, okay, third-party vendors. So of course you have to carry out all the 4 phases. And then what is the expected deliverable? Report on risk identification, assessment, and remediation for third-party service providers. And fourth category is before launching new technology services and products. If your organization is going to launch a new service, for example, ministries, they launch the services countrywide, okay, and they have a wider scope. So you have to review the security posture, whether the policies are properly implemented on the edge firewalls and the edge routers, how the load balancers are there, the DMZ devices and switches, you know. And of course, when you review the whole security posture, then you can identify the risks, and of course then you conduct risk assessments and remediate risks according to the approved risk management methodology. So what the report should be ready as an evidence which you can present in front of the external auditor, that is report on risk identification, assessment, and remediation before releasing new technology products and services. All right, so these were the 4 categories. You have to prepare in these 4 types of changes. You have to prepare a proper report. The last control says you must have risk management methodology review. Review is very important. This control says periodic review. It should be done as per the approved plan. Your plan could be annually or by 6-month basis or quarterly. Or regulatory changes. If there are any changes done by National Cybersecurity Authority or any other regulatory body for whom you need to comply with. So in such cases, you have to make revised documentation with a new version, and again get the approval from the higher management. So what is the expected deliverable? Review scheduled documents and updated methodology and procedures. Documents indicating that they have been reviewed, updated, and approved. Perfect. All right, before closing this session, I would like to share with you the template and the draft, which is for cybersecurity risk management methodology and the procedures. Okay, fine. So here, this document is actually covers almost 30 policies, different 30 policies in from cybersecurity perspective, and we will discuss only this particular policy, which is related to risk management. It has its own goal. This policy aims to identify cybersecurity requirements based on best practices and standards for managing entity cybersecurity risks in accordance with the confidentiality, availability, and integrity of information and technological assets. Right? And then is the scope, policy items. You can see here, risk assessment must be carried out, risk management must be compatible with enterprise risk management, and then key stages for cyber risk management. That is, first of all, we have discussed it, risk identification, but they should be actually drafted inside the cybersecurity risk management policy. The driving force you get from the policy. Risk assessment, it has its own phases in the early stages before making a fundamental change, when planning third-party services, when planning and before launching new technical products and services. Right? Risk must be assessed and updated as follows. Periodical review for all information and technology assets after a cybersecurity incident, after obtaining important audit results, in the event of a change in information and technical assets. Right? These are all the items which should be part of the policy. Risk assessment process should cover risk analysis, risk evaluation, and of course then risk treatment, and then risk oversight. That's all. I think risk appetite, to what extent your organization can bear the losses. So risk appetite, you have to see and you have to consider it, and based on that you have to prepare the risk treatment plans. This was the policy. Let me just have a quick review for the procedure. The procedure for risk management is quite long. It has different details. Phase-wise, every phase is discussed in pretty much detail in this particular draft for cybersecurity risk management. Phase 1, identifying scope, criteria, context. Phase 2 is cybersecurity risk assessment process, and it has further details in 3 phases. First is risk identification, then risk analysis, evaluation, and then of course in phase 3 you have risk treatment plans, and then recording and reporting. In phase 5 you have communication and monitoring, then roles and responsibilities. You have to assign those risks. Risk owners will be there, and then update and review. Right? If there are any changes, you have to update and then review in steering committee meetings. And then is the compliance with regulatory bodies. So everything is actually discussed in pretty much detail, and it requires a separate session. Very honestly, it is 37 pages procedure. But quickly, if you can see the purpose, scope, risk management process, you can see, and every phase is discussed in pretty much detail with details. In this session, honestly, I will not go into details. But if you are seeking for any further assistance, you can reach me out on my phone or email. I will definitely be there to support you. And I must say that I'm going to record another session for cybersecurity management part 2, where we shall be discussing the tools which are effective for cybersecurity risk management. All right, so that will be discussed in part 2. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.